questions in the world. We're going crazy. We need some Q&As. I got a real nice list here for the podcast, but I don't want to crack into these. I want to get straight into your guys' brain, straight into your brain. We're not going to start the timer just yet. We got 3 minutes, so nobody post any questions just yet. I'm going to try not to ramble on and talk too long. I'm going to try read, reply, and then maybe we can laugh about it. Always hit those follow-up questions. Pry that information out of me, but I'm going to try and be quick, precise, and on point. We're going to sit and just chill and chat for about 3 minutes, and then we're going to officially start the timer, and then we're going to run for 30 minutes, maybe 45, depends on how interesting it gets. And we're going to do this Q&A session. No questions are off limits. Rally the troops, Cloud. Tell them. No questions are off limits. Rally the troops. Tell them. We will, when we start, we're going to run for about 30 minutes, 45 maybe. And we're just going to do every question you guys have. What do y'all want to know? What is out there to be found? My doink keeps going out. Oh no, it's still kicking. We're still bitching. And I want to see what you guys want to know. I want to build a introspective around the questions that is currently out there. I've noticed from a lot of really great, I shouldn't say a lot of really great. I've noticed from a lot of works of fiction recently that haven't appealed to the masses, that even if they do everything great, if they don't have some goal in sight that is appeasing to a majority, it's just going to flop. So instead of trying to come up with something that you guys are interested in, or that I think will be the end game, which is basically what I'm doing right now with dungeons and trials, I want to know very early on, before we even introduce them, what you guys are wanting, what you guys are thinking of, what is like those key treasures, those most valuable things that you guys can think of. I want to know what that is, so we can start building the latter late game more around a diversified community that has these thoughts rather than one person that's trying to think up a loot pool. Kind of like we did for the creature book. But yeah, we're gonna start that in about 60 seconds now. Trying to get some music played up here to do a little something too. Oh yeah, just a little something. All right, let's get this clock started. Thank you, Cloud, for clocking in with the first question. I mean, we always have time to talk, but really want to get right into the brains of what you guys are looking for. We got to think rewards. We got to think, what is the community searching for? I know for some of you, and for those people, I don't want to come out and say it. I want to know for the rest. I want to know the general community. What are they out there searching for? What do you guys think is going to be the most powerful stuff? Where are you trying to go? What you trying to do? Those type of things. I would love to know, but we're going to start it off with question number 1 here. Quick cock, just like that, right off the top. Cloud, we haven't seen much for water magic yet. That is true. Water magic is somewhat of an advanced magic because of its passive abilities. It can purify, which just makes it basically better than fire against undead, and allows it to hurt spirits as well, and allows it to be super good against shadow. And there's just so much that water magic does that it is in the advanced magic. In your easy to use magic, you have magics that come from emotion, is what the universe origin for them is. Like some people get really angry really fast, really easily. That's your fire magic. Some people can fall in love and be infatuated and have that spark of chemistry really quickly and really easily, and there's your electric magic. And some people can be cold-shouldered and kind of ruthless very easily and just like second nature to them. And then there's your frost magic. So between those three elements, you have mostly the storm archetype and the support of a lot of your elementals. But for things that are harder in life, such as patience and letting go, for water magic specifically, letting go, and being able to just like let yourself be at complete and total peace, to be able to purify things is a little more advanced. And so we see that up there in those kind of more hard to master elements. Yeah. We got another one from Cloud. Thank you so much. Appreciate all your guys' comments. Start lining them up in that chat there. We'd love to Q&A into them. It would be awesome to get a small but cool melee weapon for when spells run out. Melee weapons are going to be pivotal. We haven't really seen much into the gear book just yet, because I want to keep some of the fascination with items and stuff still new to our players that have been basically stuck in a 16-week prologue. They're all very new D&D players. It's a cast and crew that only one of them has ever played D&D before, and so I kind of had this idea of how I was going to stretch it out in this fantasy setting. Granted, not to the ladder that it has been, but kind of have this longer prologue where each episode was kind of going to be like a training on one of the main parts of the fundamentals, and then start introducing new ideas here and there as we get into spells and scepters. So I was going to try and build up their D&D fundamentals, and then build up a couple of spells and scepters fundamentals. And because of that, we haven't really got into a lot of the what you need to actually play the game. Like so far right now, it's been a lot of role play. I kind of just give them components as they ask for them, and we kind of just see this like really story narrative driven aspect to the world. And kind of just get honestly giving them things that don't exist. For example, like the clover that Jimbo picks up in Day of the Green. Like those items don't actually exist. We're just role playing, and I'm figuring it's not going to have much of an impact later on. But it gets them those principles of, hey, for a bonus action, I could pick something up, I can do this, and thinking about their full capacity of their turn. So you always want to be encouraging as a DM when they're trying to do those things, not make them think, oh, hey, I just wasted my time picking grass. And a good DM will draw back on those things and try and have it matter later on down the line. Like maybe there's a person that he'll see that uses like some sort of clover as a bookmark or something, and so it'll have that relevance as to, oh, hey, me and them are on the same like wavelength. Something very subtle like that you can also use items for. But as far as like the actual main main chunk of the items, we haven't really seen much. It's been kind of a little restricted, as the DM, I don't think he wanted to discourage people while money was going to be so tough to get. I think that was the main thing that I was trying to do was I didn't want to make their actions seem useless, And I also wanted to really encourage that they were placing themselves in the world, thinking, "Oh, hey, there's clovers here." Things like that matter to me and to the world, I think, more than the actual mechanical component of what that thing could do. But we will see very, very soon a good amount of things, like just random components and stuff. For Jimbo specifically, he's actually one of those players that really gets into it, and he has inspired me in a couple different things. A couple different ideas have come from just thoughts and talks with Cloud, but specifically, he really got me into thinking about the horticulture, which is weird, and the potions. So we'll see a lot of that is actually inspired by him, and we'll see the mechanics for building those things, and the scale of the world goes up from there. For those of you that have D&D experience, this might have some practical implications, but it might also just scare you away from the game in general. But it's just meant to be a higher incentive to going into dungeons. And for people that aren't going into dungeons, quests. Because on the top, there is really only material to be gained. It's like your safe haven. There's going to be monsters, but very few here and there. And when they come, you'll have an entire town to fight them. So it'll be way less of a threat. But when you go out and you adventure, now it's you and just the monster. And then when you go into dungeons, well, now the monsters outnumber you. And then when you go into trial chambers, it's like you 1v1ing the monsters, right? And having to do it multiple times. But maybe there's like a puzzle monster, equivalent to a monster CR, et cetera, et cetera. But in general, just to kind of like set you guys in where we're at, I'd love to cover a couple of them. Starting with our scrap scepter. That bad boy, if you lose that and you want a new one, that's going to run you 250 gold. That is a lot. That's 2,500 silver, or I believe. And that's about 250,000 shillings, copper pieces, I mean. Not shillings, copper pieces. Your Arcanum Birch Wand, that's going to run you 300 gold. Your Iron Root Rod, that's going to run you 320. Your Singing Willow, that's going to run you 325. And then there's a... This is an open Q&A. We can be honest here. We can be honest here, huh? We got the Quartz Threaded Scepter. That's going to run you 950. We got the Silver Flare Baton. That's going to run you 1,050. The Twin Echo Scepter. That's going to run you 1,400. The Starfall Focus, which is pretty insane. A Storm Spine Wand is going to cost you 5,500 gold. An Obsidian Night Rod is going to take you 5,200. An Echelon Master Staff is going to run you 38,000 gold. Your Arcane Dagger, that's the dagger you guys currently are working with, the little D4 slicer, that's going to run you 120 gold. Your Spellblade, the sword version that Heimdall carries around, that's going to run you 450 gold. And then there's a lot of stuff in here. Your Rune Tip Crossbow is going to run you 480 gold. Those spark batteries that we're talking about for the Artificer, those are going to run you 1,200 gold a pop. Bolt grenades, which are like electric grenades that release arc surges, are going to run you 900 gold. The drone thing that the Artificer starts with, and they have to start getting the mastery points to build up. You could just buy one outright if you want. The little drone is 3,500 gold. The robes that you guys have on, those are going to run you. No, sorry, these are the regular robes. The novice robes are going to run you 80 gold. The rune robes that you guys are rocking that have the enchantments already on them are going to run you 500 gold. Let's see where. Your standard like knight set of armor that just boosts your AC up a couple points. It's going to run you 1,000 gold. The arc plate vest version is which gets like an elemental resistance, kind of like your Drake's skin that you have. That's going to run you 3,500, but it has additional AC as well. The kite shield, the arcane kite shield, is going to run you 1,500. Spellmere buckler, which is a shield that literally reflects spells, it goes for 2,400. And then you got all the brews. Most run for around 200-ish. Some of them are cheaper. Focus polish is 90. I think that's the cheapest one. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff. There's just even more wands. There's the Maple Glow Apprentice wand for 350, the Dragon Plume Twig wand for 380, the Ember Ash Study wand for 360, the Whisper Reed wand for 370, the Cedar Insight wand for 400, the Prisma Shard wand for 1,250. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. Into your like more just basic items, your tarnished dagger, which is basically the same exact dagger you have, but you can't use it as a magic focus. 45 gold. The Traveler's Pack that you guys start with, 60 gold. Just the regular, real tiny vials of healing potion, 120 gold. The like little tiny ones, the D4. And it just goes on and on. There's so much stuff. We'll get into a lot of the drops and stuff. They're not really too crazy. A lot of them are under 200. The Raiders Lockpick set is actually right at 200. To give you kind of like an idea of range of money, just alone to get a bundle of 10 arrows, which is going to be in of these items that you can carry in that pack that we just mentioned. Basically, the number of things that you can have on you. Within that, 10 arrows, and you could essentially have 10 of those on you. But for just one of them, I accidentally scrolled too far. Bundle of 10 arrows is 30 gold. So, if you start going and losing equipment, it's going to start taking it out of you fast. Especially for people that don't have a lot. And then there's a lot of really cool, really crazy stuff down at the end there. Transmutation is crazy. Being able to swap elements is just insane because it opens up your synergy types. Yeah, that is pretty sick. Do any of the other wands bite? Yeah, I mean, there's a couple. Most of it's just flavor text. Of whether like the wand is easy, gentle, gentle. It just depends. Some of them are firm, some of them are gentle. Representing basically how pliable their will is. For a more stern, more direct person like Vero, he would want a more pliable wand to bend to his will, while as a more aloof and kind of goofier person like Jimbo would probably want a more rigid wand to make up for his that kind of focus trait in battle. But that's all just kind of like flavor text. They don't actually have any real mechanic there. It's just kind of lore and flavor text of the world. And yeah, a lot of the wands overlap. I mean, there's like 38 wand types, and then you have like 12 more, because there's the 12 corrupted wands, and then you have awakened wands. Of the original 38, I think only like 20 or something like that can awaken, but some have like ancient forms or different variants, so we didn't need to do like a third or a fourth one. But of the core elemental types, like your core mechanics, not the secondary types of magic, your core magic types that don't have, they only have the one trait. Those are like your core ones, and like Birchwood, the ones that you guys get starting basically. All those ones are your core wands that basically were the first ones ever. And those ones are the ones that can awaken. Because those trees that they grow from are literally magic. There's something, it'll say something in their description about their history. Like the birch, for example. Oh man, I just had it on the tip of my tongue. The birch, for example, literally says it's from a magical tree. It's because humans have cultivated it and grown it and taken care of it, like we've seen in the Verdant Gardens, and it's become a more magical tree because we've bent the will of the tree, much like the caster bends the will of a wand. And same for like the Iron Root wand. It says that it became that way because it soaks up all the blood on battlefields because humans keep having war. And so on and so on, and all the core ones basically have some reason. Humans have basically cultivated and made those trees that they source from more magic, which makes it something called a source that we know is very, very important. Having a source on the battlefield, having a source for an oasis, and we actually don't know this just yet, but we'll find out that all the wastestones are actually sources in of themselves. All the wastestones have been placed at what's called a nexus point, which means that there's one ley line running one way and there's another ley line running another way, and when those two ley lines overlap, it creates an area known as a nexus point. Areas that can't become bad, they can't become good, they're just always standardly neutral. You have hallowed grounds and unhallowed grounds, and basically there's nothing in between. Either the veil is thin there or the veil is not thin there, and it's usually a yes or no answer, but a nexus points, it like confuses it, and because of that there is no yes or no. It just is. And those nexus points in of themselves are sources as well. And the being able to go into that is why or is how you get down into dungeons. And there's also some really cool lore that we'll find out later about like why, and and stuff, and the flame being really, really important. The flame, the stone, the tree, like it'll all make sense a little bit later. A burning flame, like on top of a coin, is just like so symbolic. We just didn't see it quite yet. Dance with me. Any other questions? Love to keep them rolling. Love to keep them going. I mean, we'll be getting towards it kind of relatively soon. It really just depends on the players. The waste stones are pretty cool. We won't be learning, like, I don't think we'll learn why until someone beats a dungeon. Maybe we will. It really just depends on how smart the players are, too, because you never can underestimate them. They'll do some wild, whack shit you won't expect, and the whole plot will come tumbling out. But so the next question from Cloud was, can we have a bellboy that waits there for us and brings us to our floor? A little elevator attendant. I'm not really sure exactly what you mean there, but in the scenario of going into a dungeon, everybody starts out on floor 1, and it basically will roll the archetype, and that'll determine what type of floor room 1 is, sorry. And then we'll roll how many rooms there are. It'll start expanding, and it just depends for dungeons. The beginner dungeon is a solo dungeon, so you do have to survive an entire room by yourself before you can meet up with a teammate. And then once you have landed into the dungeon at your floor, all the floors have been spawned in. The other person lands in. Both of you guys have cleared through your rooms. You may then meet up, and then you'd have to proceed room by room through the floor and to find the exit or exit item, which will only take you further down. It won't take you back up. The dungeon will save itself in the order that you delve down. The same number of rooms, same number of floors. And as you delve down further and further and further, loot and monsters will occur more and at higher rates of value and strength. And you'll get more adventurer points for however many rooms you clear out. And you'll continue going until you want to turn around. And at which point, you have to make it back through everything you just went through again. Every room will reset. The floors will not reset, though. So you'll go back floor by floor by floor by floor by floor through however many rooms it took you to get out. And those rooms in themselves will reset. The creatures in them, the loot in them, and they'll constantly keep resetting. Some key things to note about that is you have to make it all the way back out. Once you get KO'd, it'll teleport you out of there, but you're not going to take anything with you. You will take stuff with you, but not any loot crates or any of the stuff that you're like actually going there to hunt for. Loot crates can't be transmitted out like that. And yeah, a couple things to note about that. Once you are going down, once you go down a floor, the CR will go up. The challenge rating will go up by 1 every time you go down a floor. And then the CR will lock. So say you get to floor 10 and you want to turn back. The CR will stay at 10 no matter what until you leave the dungeon. And as you go room by room by room, you'll get adventure points. You'll have chances to evac out of there. But it's a case of, do you want to take the loot that you got with you? Because you won't be able to take the loot crates. I think that's it. I don't know why I said items. It's really just loot crates. Those are the only things you can't teleport out with. And on that note, a loot crate has like a score value. It's like yada yada yada. There's like 5, 10, 15, 25, and 50, I think. And you have to pick that loot crate up and then move that many with it. So if you find a mythic loot crate in like your first room, you still have to go 50 more blocks with this thing. Or if you're smart, you would go 25 and then turn around and come back 25. But you still have to progress that many rooms to actually unlock it and to get out of there with it. It's a pretty fucking cool system. But the loot crates are essentially free packs. So they're worth actual, not IRL money, but they're worth actual IRL stuff. So they're very valuable and hard to get out of there with. But they're the main draw point to dungeons. If you go back, it resets. And it is, you are allowed to rest. Sorry. You are allowed to rest whenever you like. However, the dungeon can reset at any point in time. If you take too long looting, if you stay in a room for too long, etc., etc. So timing is crucial. Picking up and deciding items and moving on quickly is crucial because the dungeons can actually reset while you're standing in them. Something I'm not ever going to warn anyone about ever again. They can just new monsters can just spawn while you're looting. There's actually a countdown of number of turns that go on, and you got to remember every time you talk is a free interaction. So if you start talking with your friends, every time everyone says something, ding, 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 all of those are counting in those amount of turns that are happening. And then the dungeon has a random number that it resets on, and or the floor has a random number depending on the archetype of floor it is, and it just randomly resets. So what you'll have to keep in mind for that is that when you go to take a guard and to try and rest and to reset yourself, to heal up and rest inside of the dungeon, it will be very, very, very highly unlikely that you'll be able to do so safely. That's where the adventure points come in. With the adventure points, you can turn down the challenge rating when you're in times of, I'm running low on resources and I just want to evac with these things. Also, you can use, it's like the second option, I think, I'm pretty sure it's 2 adventure points. You can use 2 adventure points to guarantee your whole party a safe rest, which is pretty nice. If you guys are adventuring together, you guys should be able to pitch in for a couple short rests without hurting your adventuring points too much. So rest will be there and be available. It's just how greedy are you? You can also use adventuring points to scout out the dungeon, learn how many rooms are in between you and the exit or exit item. You can use adventuring points to turn up the CR if you want to farm stronger creatures, and you can use adventuring points to turn down the CR. But it costs a lot more to turn it down. Sorry, I'll give you guys an extra couple minutes for questions here. I'm kind of rummaging, trying to grab my dungeon notes here. I've started a lot of new tabs in my notebook recently. Got a lot of things that I'm tracking now. Here we are. Archetypes. Oh, adventuring points. Here we go. 1 point can be spent on a safe rest. 1 point, yeah. So that's pretty easy to get. You can get adventuring points by progressing however many rooms is equal to the risk level. So the first dungeon that we're ever going to see is Hefja Kapi. It's a risk level 5, which means that's pretty low. It's not as bad as it sounds. It's pretty low. It means that essentially if one player level 5 goes into that dungeon, they will be okay. It doesn't mean there's an inherent risk to every dungeon, but it means basically I've built 90% of the encounters to be under level 5. And that's how many, the risk is how many you have to progress. So you have to go through 5 rooms to get 1 adventurer point. And then you may spend 1 point on a safe rest, 2 points to learn the distance to the exit or the exit items. 3 points can be spent to increase the CR. 5 points can be spent to decrease the CR. 10 points can be spent to get you a free dungeon evac, excluding your held loot crates. And 15 points gets you a loot crate roll on the loot crate chart, which is the most busted mechanic to get loot crates in the game. A dungeon has certain things that can spawn. Loot, creatures, bosses, loot crates. And Hefja Kapi can only spawn common, uncommon, and rare. It's the only type of loot crates that can spawn there naturally. But sometimes bosses can drop a loot crate, very, very, very rare. And through your adventuring points, if you get 15, you can roll on the loot crate chart. On the chart, you have it is a random, it's a D20, which the odds aren't too bad. It's broken into about different percentages. You can get common, uncommon, rare, legendary, or mythic. And the percentages are about 54% for the common, 30% for the uncommon, 10% for the rare, 5% for the legendary, and 1% for the mythic. What you can expect inside of these loot crates, inside the common loot crate, is basically only dungeon drops. So you'll basically only see stuff that can drop inside of that dungeon, which that's bad but good at the same time. If you're really lucky, you might just get a boss drop. Uncommon only drops craftable dungeon items, so basically it's like saves you a step in the crafting process. Instead of having to go through the dungeon, get 2 different drops, combine them together and make something, this is a loot crate of only those items that you can craft from the dungeon drops. And then your rare is basically the smallest card pack that is on the site itself. It'll be the starter set, basically the cheapest. It has the least rarity pulls and the least amount of cards that can be opened, but you can open one every day. So it's basically a free one of those. And then the legendary will give you one of our most popular pack, which right now is going to be the Core 4. And that's going to be, your just like standard go-to solid pack, and whatever is just like popping at that second. And then inside of your mythic packs, you're going to get 2 of the most popular pack that is out right now. And alongside that, some information to note about the loot crates. All of them have like a challenge score. That's how many rooms you have to progress to even be able to open that. So not only do you have to grab it and get out alive with it, you have to go and move through a certain amount of rooms. For a common chest, or for a common loot crate, it's only 5. For an uncommon, it's 10. For a rare, it's 15. For a legendary, it's 25. And for a mythic, it's 50. Mimics. Yes, there are mimics, actually. In fact, there are mimics and all kinds of fun stuff that can spawn in. It is fun to have more of the idea to kind of surprise you guys. But this is an open talk session, so I will say that for all traps in general, not just mimics, you don't really need to watch out too much while looting. You need to actually watch out while the room is procedurally generating. So most of these items are actually lumped in with the creatures that spawn in because of how I've made the dungeons generate. So remember that if it looks like it's light on creatures and it looks like the room is oddly weaker than most rooms have been, that means there's traps around. And that means you should be careful when looting. Always remember that the best loot is going to lay on the other side of a monster. There will never be any free loot. Well, there are some free loot. Sorry, I shouldn't say that, but the best loot is going to be on the other side of the monsters. It's almost 45. I said I'm going to give you guys a couple extra minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to run a few extra. We'll probably just run the extra 15 minutes out. Extra 12 minutes, whatever's left here. Let's get some more questions loaded up. Does anyone got any questions before we shut her down? I would love to hit some of those questions at home. If you guys are listening back to this in one of the future podcasts, make sure you guys leave your question as a comment or a review. We would love to hear from you. Yeah, watch out for suspiciously safe rooms, my friend. That is definitely true. However, I think Savage is going to be pretty excited for this. I think Savage was initially way more excited for sigils before he found out what they were. To be honest with you, but I think I'm going to pull him back. I think it's going to go, he's going to go like that. Do one of those. For our Full Metal Alchemist fans, even for our Naruto fans with like being able to seal items away and stuff like that, it's pretty cool. It actually, we might end up talking about this here in a couple minutes when we pull up the live preview that we're gonna do. There's a new set of cards out that not even our cast and crew that does our backstage opening, they haven't even seen these ones yet. They're sleek, they're white, they're crystallized like synchro monsters from Yu-Gi-Oh, man. They're sick, they're inspired by my fucking childhood, and they look cool as fuck. And they're called dungeon cards, modeled off of Dungeon Monsters, which was originally supposed to be the name for Yu-Gi-Oh. Basically, this is inspired off of one of my favorite eras of Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, the Synchro Monsters, which were like these cool, really sick-ass white cards that you could basically summon these monsters with. That's what to keep your eyes out when you guys are at home looking for big blunts like my actual insert character. I promise I'm going to have one of these. And basically, what these are called dungeon cards. So it's not stuff that you can find just out and about in the world, and that gives you an advantage, whether you're opening the packs on the website or whether you're going into the dungeons and doing these cards are not accessible to the normal everyday player. If the everyday player is not logging on and hitting that free daily, if the everyday player is not going into dungeons and doing these, they will not be getting this benefit. And only you will have access to this exclusive lot of cards called dungeon cards. And these dungeon cards are brand new, white featured. They're really, really, really sick. We're going to actually see a couple of them tonight. And the coolest thing about them is, like I said, with the traps, a lot of them are mechanically the same generation for creatures. And so a lot of the same things theoretically apply. And we're going to get pliable with it. This is still a D&D game. It's not a full-on video game. We can mess with it a little bit. But basically how this works is once you trigger a trap or you beat a creature, whatever you want to think about it like, once you've beat it, its purpose is fulfilled. I don't care what happens to it. If you want to tame it, if you want to seal it away in a scroll, that is up to the party at the moment to kind of go through. That's some of the fun of like looting and like spending that having that risk, right? Some additional rolls that maybe they want to spend a little time doing this. Looting's not so simple when you got to seal away a fucking giant pair of axe on chains that can come out of the scroll and fucking swing. Or they could be in the dungeon somewhere, hidden up, and when you step through a fucking tripwire, they swing down. Anyways, once it's served its purpose as the dungeon card it is, the players may pick it up and seal it away. It's not quite as easy as I'm making it sound, but it can be done. And this is really cool for are people that are taking the arcane class. I told you, do not sleep on Professor Quillwright. He was the shadow teacher at one point in time. He was the when what's his name? Trying to remember the lore. When the Ember Coil guy died, he was the dueling teacher for a little bit. Standing in that position, seeing when people saw he's not a coward, he's like, I'm this guy. He got the accolades. He became the Archmage of the Moon. Did that for a while. After being the Archmage of the Moon for so long, he eventually became the Grand Magistrate. And then after being the Grand Magistrate for so long, it was time for a new Grand Magistrate. He stepped down and started teaching arcane craft. Do not sleep on Professor Quillwright. He's got an origin story. He's got a whole magic type built around him. He's got tons of crazy, insane shit you can do that interacts with basically everything. Magic, items, monsters, traps. I mean, what can you not do with a grimoire, a sealing scroll, and a couple sigils? You don't even need the components. And that proves, so there's one really important thing you guys got to know about magic in the world is it takes intent and knowledge. Those are like the two counterbalances to how it works. Bro has so much brain that he doesn't need the other one. That's crazy. And I think that's what it takes to play an arcanist. To play someone who benefits from these arcane classes the most, you would have to be thinking about these big, out of the brain, I'm trying to combo together fucking this and that. You know, you got to be thinking, oh, I want to put fire and water together, even though they don't go together, because I want to make steam, you know? You got to be thinking like that to be that person. And I think what really, really, really puts this icing all the way up on top of the cake, this dude that we're talking about is the mentor to Silith, because we found that out in Ray's dream when she was chasing the cat and found Silith and Heimdall, and they're kind of like bullying Heimdall because he was learning from Talius, who at the time wasn't an archmage yet, wasn't seen as anything special, just an old ass human. And in that time period, Othelius was a archmage, and he was training Silith and the Sneak and Vorks. And the craziest thing about that is Silith is the dude who combines two different types of magic that don't belong together. So it's like everything I just told you has been highlighted and kind of like snuck into the background as we've been telling the story. Sigils are basically, they connect it all. That's why everyone that has like all these crazy magics, there's like all kinds of weird sigils. I want in my magic system for these sigils and movements to have like a purpose and a feel to them. So I actually made all of it have a purpose and a mechanic. And so anyways, with the Sealing Scrolls, and like we're gonna find out with a couple of our players, because some people actually have too many creatures now. Jimbo has to find a way to seal away his Verdant Prowler. Barrow has to find a way to seal away his Iron Finch. Solaris has to find a way to seal away her. Well, technically, she put the creature in an oasis, so that's fine. She'd have to find some way to summon it, so she's still got to go into a contract and yada yada. And same for Jimbo. Technically, his is in a oasis where it can thrive and redo its thing too. But all these scrolls have to be made so that they can summon. So we'll see that you can literally do this with just about anything as long as its purpose has been fulfilled or obeys your own. So that's pretty cool. And not only that, but it connects back into transmutation, because with transmutation you can change state, and state basically is purpose, matter, what you're built of. And that means that like you could take something that is whatever it is, and you could turn it into something else, seal it away, throw the scroll up in the air, and activate it again, and the scroll would pop down, and then maybe you transmutate it back, and it changes elements again. This allows you to mess with density and all kinds of things. Like, say you want to get something really, really, really heavy up in the air, you could change it to like a gas form or a whatever form when you seal it away, and when it comes back out, it's in that form, it's falling down, and then you transmute it back, and then it turns back to whatever it was originally. So it's pretty fucking sick. Sigils and scrolls can basically do anything and everything, and with the support of grimoires as well, Arcanists are definitely the strongest wizards of all time. The continent is called Arcanum Nomatica. The Arcanist nomads, which is what that translates to, are insane. I mean, there's just nothing. The only person that even comes close is Othelius, and maybe Selena Aethercrest. And if Silith wasn't so one-sided as he is, like his ability to connect two different things and realize all of that, but not step into the other side, like into the light where Heimdall is, and be able to do those types of things with his charms because of Silith's like moral reservations and who he thinks he is as a person, he wouldn't. But if he did have access to spells like that, like the charm spells and things like that, I would say maybe Silith as well. And then Heimdall's probably like right up there, like next. Oh, and Talius. Can't forget about Talius. But somewhere up there. Talius isn't in his prime no more. I don't think he would be. I don't think he's ahead of Heimdall anymore. Well, he's still No, I take that back. I would power scale Talius just a little ahead of Heimdall still. Because if you fucked around with Talius, there's dude, the crazy thing about Talius is his legacy feat, which allows him to use one sun spell up to however many hours of daylight are in that day. And that means that Talius can essentially... It just depends on where you're fighting him at. If you're fighting him in like fucking the top of the world where the orcs come from, where that like battle and shit, all that stuff happened. If you're fighting up there where there's like 20 hours of daylight, that means Talius could essentially have 20 light clones that are just there for no cost to him. He's not going to feel a hit of 20 minus 10. He's not going to feel a hit of 10 spell slots. That's not going to do much to Talius. He's still going to have like 26 spell slots, and there's going to be 20 of them. Or worse, he only splits into 4 and all of them have like around 40 spell slots. Like that, so Talius is definitely still up there. Shouldn't sleep on the old man just yet. But anyways, we got 9 minutes left. And let's get back to the questions on the floor before we close out our talk show behind the scenes. A little D&D with the DM getting interrogated. Oh wait, that's me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just here laughing along with you guys. We're getting into a little spells and scepters. Cloud, you have been phenomenal with all your questions. I appreciate you showing up and just going crazy. I mean, it wouldn't be bad for Jimbo. Jimbo's wisdom is pretty much up there, so you know, whenever you want to make the couple proficiency rolls and get your intellect up there, so that you have that intelligence stat for the arcane stuff, you're on your way, brother. You're on your way. Love doing a little bit of power scaling. That was fun. That was fun. I got real nerded for a second. Yeah. Heimdall's not quite that strong. He's not quite that strong. I was putting him up there with the Archmages. He's not that tough. What NPC are you most excited to reveal? We know just about everyone has a mystery. That is a great question, Cloud. That is a fantastic one. What NPC? I'll answer that as a two-parter. I'll answer which one am I most excited, and then I'll reveal a mystery. One NPC. One NPC that I'm really excited for to reveal isn't even an NPC. It's gonna be a PC, but with a little NPC narration in the background. I've got a mystery guest star already set up, and with they'll be completely unrecognizable until they want to take their mask off, and this person is going to be joining and he's going to be part of our main cast and crew soon, and will not be I'm going to be paying him, and he's going to be doing these sessions basically for me, as I'm trying to tell a story with this character, and he is going to be proving that it's all done legitly, and he'll be the one playing it and doing it, and that is going to be our first ever look at the Envoy Knights. For our Goblinland friends, we know that just around near the end of where the canonical story left off, we had heard about, basically the tale of the sword and these grand heroes, these knights of the old time that were known as the Holy Knights. And we're going to see those soon. Like, the Legion is just now getting there. Like, we're about to see the first ever Holy Knights. But before I ever show the good guys, I really, really subtly want to put the opposite in the background. The Envoy Knight. This is, instead of being one of the knights for the Legion, this is going to be one of the knights for this place across the ways that we've been telling Soulbound Brotherhood in. And that's going to be a knight for the Empire. And I'm real excited for this person to be joining the guest star work on this and being a part of this project. And They will eventually be coming over, and all these stories are coming together to tell one bigger story. So I'm really, really excited for that. And then one character that already exists that we know about that I want to tell a little mystery about. So there is a fairy tale that's out now on our YouTube, and it tells. There's a whole bunch of them, but there's one particularly called "The Tale of Two Sisters." That was heavily inspired by my own sisters, and I believe one of them would absolutely go to the ends of the world for the other one, and I think the other one would absolutely burn the world down for the other one. And that's kind of the story of the Tale of Two Sisters. It's just supposed to be a lighthearted fairy tale, but in that story, it talks about a couple different really important things. Number one, the origins of the moon folk. Basically, some guy that was just like loved and adored by this sister, and basically when he died, she brought him back, and it's pretty cool. And then it didn't bring him back to flesh, though. It brought his spirit back to the world, and thus started reincarnation for the moon folk. And she's said to be a descendant of the daughter of the dusk, anyways, dawn and dusk. And that's one of those 5 avatars, and she basically started the moon folk in that reincarnation. But what's really cool about that is that fairy tale is followed by the stone that remembered, and the stone that remembered is mainly about the very first fate stone. But we know that this is all happening at the same time because of one key detail. And that's that while that army is building up, while the alliances are coming together, and basically they're getting ready for the first war that's ever going to happen against these big bad evil elves, as all this is happening, one dude is kind of like, yeah, I don't really know about all this. Like, he's just like the most badass knight, and he's got this stone. And they're basically like, yeah, I don't, he's like, I don't know about like just killing them all. He's like, maybe we could just like ask them to leave. I don't know. And he's very like charming, and that's important because that dude is actually this ancestor of Heimdall. And not only that, kind of in a similar fashion, there is something really important we still don't know about Heimdall's origin. Number one, we get told Heimdall's story kind of in the opposite order of what I just told you in that fairy tale. You guys bring the stone to him, and he's charming and charismatic, and he's this knight in giant armor with this sword, and he's like, I got you. He's like, let's go. He's like, let's go this way. And he takes them away instead of towards this battle. He takes them away from this conflict. So we kind of get like the opposite of the story from this Heimdall here. But what the secret that I want to tell is, with all of that being said, Heimdall's ancestors are way more important than just that little fairy tale. That's just one of Heimdall's ancestors, and not like the furthest one back, which is more important. The further you go back in history, the closer you get to these 5 avatars, and that's why it matters. Heimdall's background is definitely something to be curious about, and it was like crazy to see all of the players be sketched of him at first, and they're like, I don't know, maybe we should intimidate this guy. And just kind of not really trusting him, being like, why is this dude just walking around smiling, helping? And then they meet Talius, and they're like, all right, I guess people just like smiling in this in this world, and then they meet Selena, and they're like, okay, just everybody smiles except Scylla. I mean, Heim and Ergo, they're all smiling, and everyone's just smiling, but no, it was just really funny to see them kind of be awkwarded out and be like, what? I don't trust this guy. It's a Heimdall because he's really, really important to the story somewhere. And we'll learn that probably in the Arcane class, if anything, going in the further you get back into history. A very, very interesting question that a player should like ask. Maybe I'll put a bounty out for this if it ever happens in the game. The first person to make it to Madame Inkvale and ask about like the beginning of magic. Like, do we know like who the first wizards are? Like, do we know the tale of the 5 heroes? And they like, made Mistvale and stuff, but from the fairy tales, magic already existed. Do we know like where it came from? Do we know like who were the first people to like cast it? Because we know from some of the classes, we know where like that one spell came from. We know where orc magic came from. We know the origin, and that puts us all the way back in that same timeline that all these stories are happening at, because the orcs came down right after that war, right after the Holy Crusade against the dragons. They come down, and in this fairy tale where we're learning about the 2 sisters, and then in the other one with the stone where we're learning about Heimdall's ancestor, this is all happening as that first war is brewing, as the alliances are getting together, and then the orcs come down right after. So we have knowledge that the history tracks back to right about that far, and I'm so excited for this timeline video that I'm going to make of like the history and timeline that we've made. But yeah, first person that figures that out, I'll give you a nice reward. Who was the first wizard? All right. Well, how long? The camera's in the way there. I can't quite see the. Let's go for 2 more minutes, and then we're gonna end the session here. Do we have any more questions? Closing questions. Don't feel obligated. Cloud, you've been phenomenal. You've been holding it down all stream long. By the way, for those of you that are watching at home, we stream all of this live on Twitch, Big Blunt Johnson. If you guys want to catch up on the YouTube as well. Most of this content goes out in post form over there, and we'd love a couple interactions and a couple comments over there if you guys got the time and you don't mind. Pull by and leave a question there, because you might see it next time on one of the next after hours. Actually, I have a whole list of questions here from you guys, and we're getting ready to talk about some of those in some future coming up episodes. We're going to be going and doing some after hours and looking into episode 6 and episode 7, and kind of getting into where we're at right now. Can you guys believe that we're getting ready to film episode 16? Like, just pause and think about that for a moment. We're a few episodes away from being in the final 10 countdown. Because we're not even going to film a full 30 episodes. Season 1's going to be like 28 episodes. And I'll just tell y'all right now, season 2, I don't know about you guys. I'm trying to tell a long board narrative. So season 2, I'm backing up. I've put all the pieces in place. I've kind of made that narrative to where it's like, they can't say, oh, he just thought that up, because I can be like, no, look, there was this little thing right here that kind of like head nodded to all the little things that were going to happen later on. And now that those pieces are in play, I kind of want to let them naturally form and naturally just be in the world for a little bit. So for season 2, while we're having this like training arc essentially, season 2 is kind of a really weird. It's going to be kind of weird because we're going to be looking at the whole rest of the year, right? It's just going to be like, oh, we got all the classes, all the assignments, all this, and then boom, just the whole other year. We might even go all the way up until the end of year 2 at Mistvale. Like, we might just do time skip, and in between each episode will just be whatever the players want to do. We'll see it. Do they want to go to the market? Do they want to go to Riverwood? Do they want to go, wherever they want to go, whatever they want to do? We're going to see literally almost no overboarding story narrative because the pieces are already there. If I've done everything properly, the player should go explore and find, and the story's going to start unfolding by itself. Because I've layered everything to revolve around these dungeons and going down. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Maybe, if you guys remind me, because I might forget, we'll talk about this right as soon as we go into the live preview, because I actually am probably going to show you guys one of the dungeon bosses that you can find in Hefja Kepe, and we'll be talking about some of the different things like that while we go through the previews, and we might be looking at some other different behind the scenes things. Just depends on what you guys are feeling, and we're going to go into why that dungeon boss matters more than most of the rest. All of them have a purpose and a theme and something that they're teaching, and there's 7 dungeon bosses in total, lucky number 7 for the first dungeon, but they're all like really, really insane rare spawns. Like, you'll never encounter them. The only way you would ever encounter them is if you've grinded this dungeon so many times that you're so comfortable that you're going through, each room, each layer, however many rooms spawn, and you're like, and you start stacking your adventure points and then start spending them for rest and to crank the CR, that challenge rating. Because you want to just get, with a dungeon, you could technically modify to make your grind as optimal as you want it to be. And just sit there, wait for things to respawn in and come kill you, and just sit there at that CR and fight monsters that you want to fight, or go deeper and get stronger things. And you'll kind of have that choice with dungeons, and it's going to be pretty big. We're going to see why that matters, but specifically why one of these boss matter a little bit more, because there's like something huge that I can't tell you guys now, but looking back after someone beats the first dungeon, you guys are going to be like, wait, what? And then I'm going to be like, yeah, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. Now, voila. And when I voila, you guys are going to go, son of a bitch, this motherfucker played Skyrim. But, and here's the but part, each of these will be even better represented, even further built upon by these trial chambers. See, all these species have long-distant ancestors and relatives. And you might be thinking to yourself, Blunt, you've made that really important in the lore for some reason. The farther we go back in time, the more closer we get to these avatars. And you might be thinking, well, now that you mention it, the Fae do have ancestors, the Fairy, the Elves have the actual elves, the Veilborn have the Shadow Elves. Yeah. And then it all starts just like tracking. Or, sorry, the Veilborn have actual elves before they became Veilborn. The Fae, all of them. And you'll notice that become really important as we get to these trial chambers. More importantly, there are some of these that you don't have to go below the ground for. And to talk about those, I'm going to have to describe to you guys what a crypt is. A crypt is basically, if you imagine a dungeon that only has one floor, and it can have, it follows by all the same rules. It spawns in a type, a number of rooms, and then there's yada 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 that can spawn within that. Now imagine a crypt is just one slice. You can't go up, you can't go down. It's just one slice, spawns in the number of rooms, and then when it goes to spawn a monster type, it only spawns that monster type for the entire rest of the crypt. And then there is a guaranteed monster somewhere in the crypt, a boss, that is that type. Every time, guaranteed. That's a crypt. Some of these are above the ground, and they're called ruins. And these ones are like magical awakening spots where you get this thing called a source, but an active source is something that is tied to the material plane. It's bound there, just like we'll see with the Waystones. When you go to these places and you complete this, you're going to get something that travels with you. So you don't have to be there in that element. This will be really important for Fae, Moonfolk, Elf, Veilborn, Orc. Basically everything but humans. The dwarfs have theirs. Theirs aren't ruins. Theirs are below. But yeah, all of this will become important because this will tell you where you need to go to do these things. And they're awesome, bro. You can basically technically farm them as well. So, and it's a guaranteed dungeon monster. It's sick, It's like a dungeon, but you don't have to run the risk. You go there when you know you want that. You want that smackdown. You want that heat. This allows you to gauge yourself. What went wrong in that dungeon? Did I really get defeated by the dungeon monster? Or was I just worn down by the time I got there? Did I play my resource management wrong? And it really gives you that ability to customize your play style and think about these things long term. Not only that, but it rewards you for doing so. It gives you something that you get as a magical bonus on the field, setting up your synergy combos. You get these different perks from them, your ancestral heritage, and all kinds of different sources. There's fire, there's water, ice, there's basically everything, all of the core elements, just like the wands. So, I mean, it's just crazy. And that's where we're going to cut off this after hours. But I do appreciate all you guys that watched along, and those of you that watched along at home. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until the next time on Spells and Scepters. What about my village? What about their dreams? You think I'm going to let you just throw them away? Try this! Rasengan!